Hey everyone, today we are going to solve the LeetCode question merge intervals. Okay, so let me explain with this example 1, 3, 18, 15, 8, 10, and 2, 6. So this interval starts from 1 and 3. And this interval starts from 15 and 8 and 18. And this interval starts from 8 and 10. And this interval starts from 2 and 6. So in this case, we should merge this interval and this interval, right? So that's because they are overlapping. And the question is, how can we know these two intervals are overlapping? So it's simple. Just compare starting time in like a later intervals. I mean, this number 2, and compare this starting time with ending time in previous intervals. I mean 3, right? And then this ending time is greater than starting time in later intervals. So in that case, we should merge these two intervals, right? But the problem is actually there is a distance between these two intervals because we have 15, 18 and 8, 10, right? So to make things easier, so my strategy is to sort all intervals with starting time so that we can get like a 1 and 3, and next should be 2 and 6, and next 8 and 10, and 15, 18. And as I told you, all we have to do is just care about the um, current starting time. So for example, now we are like a 2, 6. So in this case, so just care about this starting time versus previous ending time. So that means 3. So just compare these two numbers, and between these intervals, so same thing. If we are like 8, 10, just compare current starting time versus ending time in previous intervals. So just compare these two numbers. So of course, in this case, so we are now 15, 18. So just compare 15 versus like 10. So that we can know we should merge two intervals or not. So we use this idea. So let me show you how it works. Okay, so as I told you, we compare current interval with previous interval. So that's why we have pre variable and initialized with first interval, in this case 1, 3. So that's why we can start from second interval to 6 and then iterate through one by one. So first of all, compare starting time in current interval. So that means 2 versus ending time in previous interval. So in this case 3. And then now 3 is greater than 2, right? So in this case, we should merge these two intervals. But how? So if we merge these two intervals, so intervals should be like a 1, 2, and 6, right? So that's why we should keep 1, right? So now previous interval is 1. So we should keep 1 here. But now ending time in previous interval is 3. But in this case, we should keep 6, right? So that's why take like a later time between 3 and 6. So that's why compare like a max of like a prev 1. So I mean this number versus so current interval. So let's say I and 1. So every time when we merge two intervals, we calculate this formula and then take a max time. So in this case, 3 versus 6. So we take a 6, right? And then update prev variable and index 1 with like a bigger time. So in this case, 6. So that we can get like a 1, 6 as a previous interval. And then move next. So 8, 10. So yeah, we do the same thing. Compare current starting time 8 versus previous intervals 6, right? So now current starting time is greater than ending time in previous intervals. So they are not overlapping, right? So in this case, so 1, 6 is one of the intervals after merged. So that's why just put 1, 6 to merged. So 1, 6, right? And then new previous intervals should be 8, 10, right? Because these two intervals are not overlapping. So that's why update prev variable with 8, 10. So now it's a little bit messy, but 8, 10. And then move next. So with the same thing, compare starting time with ending time in previous interval. So 15 versus 10, right? So they are not overlapping. So that's why just append 8, 10 to merged 8 and 10. And then previous intervals should be 15 and 18, right? So update update with 15 and 18. And then we finish iteration, but we have to add 15, 18 to merge the list, right? So that's why before we return these list, we should append 15, 18 to merge. So 15, 18. And then all we have to do is just return merged list. Yeah, so that is the basic idea to solve this question. So let's jump into the code. Okay, so let's write the code. First of all, create a merged list. So merged, and this is a array. And then next, we should sort all intervals with starting time, right? So intervals and sort, and we can do like this: key equal lambda and x, and we should sort starting time, right? So that's why x and index 0. And then after that, so create a prev variable and initialized with first interval. So intervals and index 0, right? And then iterate through from the second interval. So for, let's say, interval in intervals, and start from index 1 to last. And then if interval, so, and current starting time is less than or equal previous ending time in previous interval, so 1. So in that case, we just update so prev 1, I mean ending time in previous interval with max of prev 1 versus interval and 1. So current ending time or previous ending time. So we take a max time and update a prev 1. And then after, not after, else. And in this case, they are not overlapping. So just merged dot append and prev. And then prev interval should be new interval. So interval. And then after that, as I told you, we should add the last interval to merged list. So merged dot append and prev. After that, return merged. Yeah, so let me submit it. Yeah, looks good. And the time complexity of this solution should be order of n log n, where n is the number of elements in the input array. So that's because we sorted intervals, so that's why. And the space complexity is, I think, order of n. So more precisely, it depends on language you use. So in Python, sorting algorithm is like a team sort, so which is like an O(n) space. So that's why this time space complexity is order of n. Yeah, so that's all I have for you today. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, or leave a comment. I'll see you in the next question.